Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Hineno. Last year I performed around 80 to 100 mock interviews for ST1 applicants for histopathology. There's a lot of resources out there about the histopathology application. 4 main courses that I'm going to speak through are the Smartly interview course, the Medibuddy interview course, the Medset interview course, and the 4th one that I'm going to speak about is Sultan Albinelli's webinar series for the histopathology interview. We're going to be talking about 4 different categories to help us compare the different platforms. Number 1, costs. Number 2, content. Number 3, the user interface. And number 4, the feedback stroke reviews of the different platforms. Now, let's talk a little bit about the costs. It's an incredibly stressful process, and most people will know that last year, in the year of 2025, the application cycle received around 9.5 applicants per place. So the temptation is there to kind of just go all in, spend as much as you can, but hopefully with a little bit of advice, we can steer you towards the most effective courses that are right for you. Medibuddy offer a instant access to their web platform, which offers interview questions and model answers on their web-based platform. They also have an app-based feature, and you get access to everything on their website for £85. With that £85, you get 12 months of access, so you can utilize it at any point, including after your interview. And that generally works out around £7.08 per month. Arguably, no one's going to use it for 12 months. You need it for a short period of time, possibly from October, November, December to your interview in December. But for those that want to start early, this might be a nice option to have. Medset overall is a little bit more costly. So they charge £89 for 6 months of access, which works out at about £14.83 per month of access. But they also have their pro models or pro bundles, which include interviews, mock interviews with personalized feedback. What that personalized feedback is, they don't explain on their website, but it seems to be largely verbal feedback at the end of that interview. Their pro bundle is inclusive of their online platform, which is individually £89, but you can pay £349 to get the interview plus the mock interview. Third of all, you have Smartly, which gives you, again, an interview course with written material, including what they expect to come up in the interview, previous questions, and that costs £50 for 6 months of access. So that's the cheapest so far in terms of getting that access. But Smartly also offer that one-to-one interview and personalized feedback. They offer verbal feedback at the end of the interview, and also written feedback is what they explain on their website. And that in total for the interview costs £80. Finally, we have Dr. Sultan's histopathology interview crash course, which runs for 6 hours at a cost of £79. Comparing those prices is a little bit difficult with Dr. Sultan's course because it's distinct from the other 3 entities. If you worked out the raw pricing, Smartly is the most cost effective for access to the interview written materials, and also the most cost effective for the interview with personalized professional feedback. However, if you were working it out for a 1-month basis and you wanted to know what is the cheapest if I want to access this for 12 months, it would work out to be cheapest for Medibuddy. However, I think there's very few people that will want 12-month access. And so overall, I think on the cost side of things, Smartly is the most cost effective and the best option. Also, we can talk about the costs of the mock interviews, where we have Medset and Smartly to compare by. Medset works out around $329 to $349 for the interview, depending on which bundle you choose, and Smartly works out at £80. So again, we have a clear winner, where one, you could do 4 mock interviews for the price of 1 on the other. So a very big difference in pricing there. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the content that each of those services offer. So let's start again with Medibuddy. So the Medibuddy question bank offers general preparation advice, and of course they've got a lot of experience because they've covered a breadth of different specialties. So in terms of general preparation, they've got a lot of experience in terms of preparing candidates with written materials. They also have explained on their website generic things about the image stations that they offer, the autopsy stations, and a little bit about clinical error, audit, teamwork, etc. So I'm having a look at the content on my screen and just going through it as I speak, just to help me articulate the key points. Last year they had 3 image examples that you could utilize for the description of the image station and interpretation of the image. They also had a variety of clinical knowledge scenarios, but they mainly focused on lumps and masses, and it didn't really incorporate some of our own experiences as trainees in terms of what comes up in a clinical knowledge scenario, which can actually be a lot more broad than masses and lumps and lesions. So some of it felt much more geared towards other specialties or more generic. So for example, they focused a lot on imaging, and there wasn't enough focus on the actual histology and what histopathologists actually do. Overall, the general impression that we got from trainees that use Medibuddy is that while it was generically useful, it could have been better on the specifics for histopathology, and the content sometimes didn't feel as sharp as other resources and not as useful as other resources. We'll move on to Medset now. Medset was written by an ST4 moving into ST5, therefore offers more specificity for the histopathology interview. Having had a look at their resources, they score quite well in terms of the image stations, a breadth of knowledge in terms of other stations as well, although again, sometimes it's not as up to date in terms of the most recent changes. I think this year they have made some changes for the 2025-2026 application cycle, because there has been a lot more pathology content on those fronts. So they've tried to be more specific on that front. They offer more content overall than Medibuddy in terms of written content, and do offer information on a clinical level and a pathological level to allow for clinico-pathological correlations. They also offer the interview opportunities, which allow you to book one-on-one interviews and get that personalized feedback, which can be very useful. Finally, in terms of content, in terms of the written resources, they're Smartly offer a very broad set of information on all of the fronts, including the images, autopsy stations, the clinical error and audit, the clinical knowledge scenarios, the case studies. They've got a very broad set of knowledge, and it's almost doubled in size since last year in terms of the amount of content on there. So they have the most content overall. They of course also offer those one-on-one interviews, and there's been a lot of really positive feedback on those. And then finally, we have Sultan Al-Banadi's course, a full-day histopathology interview crash course. Sultan offers all of the content, all of the stations. He goes through the stations one by one and discusses how to approach those stations. He of course has the experience of running the course over the last 2 years and also coaching individuals, so he's quite good at picking up where people differ, strengths and weaknesses. The only disadvantage there is that it is a one-day course. There isn't the opportunity to go back and review the materials, which is what the other resources, the written materials, allow you to do. Overall, in terms of content, people might prefer different options. If you like a very didactic style of teaching, Sultan's course is very ideal. The Smartly course does offer some element of didactic teaching in that there are audio recordings which allow for multimodal learning, but the content on Smartly is overall probably the strongest. Both Medset and Smartly have been updated to reflect the 2025-2026 interview. They both use RCPath datasets, use that information to really infuse and make sure that it's histopathology run through and through. The Smartly website was reviewed by ST1s that scored really highly last year and updated to reflect their experiences and their feedback. So overall, I think Smartly is the strongest in terms of the written materials and the personalized feedback element. And of course, both Medset and Smartly offer the one-on-one interviews, and so they both offer that opportunity to get that one-to-one feedback if that's what you were looking for. Now we're going to move on to the user interface, how it feels, how it works. Medibuddy has a really nice polished user interface with a web app, so you can use it on the go. It's really easy to use, it's really slick. That interface is nice for people that are looking for a question bank, articles, a guide that they can use on the train, really easy, really accessible. Smartly Medset, much more web app based. Medset offers a nice modular online course platform, has really nice graphics that monitors your progress over time, and they have a calendar function to book your interview. Smartly also has a really straightforward user interface that allows you to have a calendar function to book your interviews as well. They also have audio files to help you reinforce your learning. They've got a nice landing page with inspirational quotes, a to-do list, so you can track your progress over time. In terms of Sultan Al-Banelli's course, his webinar series is run on Zoom. He allows you to give feedback during his course, to talk and interact with him during the course, and so it has that very personal touch. All three of the online platforms have a sort of click and reveal sort of format where you can go through the questions, reflect on the question, and then have a look at the model answer and try and think of your own answer. Medset have the added feature of allowing you to write your own notes to the platform, and it also monitors your day streaks and the number of hours that you've studied on there for, which is a cool feature in our opinion. Overall, in terms of the web apps, there's very little to choose between them. Probably the most snazzy, most techy is the Medset online platform, which is very nice, but Smartly offers the same sort of calendar function, has a really nice, easy on the eye user interface. Same with Medibuddy, very nice. I think on this front, it's very difficult to choose between them. You might prefer Medset, but I'm not sure that this will be the clincher for anybody in terms of that's the reason why they would choose one platform over another. Finally, what we are going to talk a little bit about is user feedback, user reviews. Medibuddy on their website have a number of feedbacks and ratings, so they're both 5-star ratings. Nothing was specific to histopathology, so it's not clear if these are feedback for other courses or if they were specific for histopathology. That's not entirely clear on their website. Same is true of Medset feedback. They have some feedback on their website. Again, they have 87 reviews with a 4.7 rating, which is pretty impressive. It seems to be about the Histopathology SD1 interview course, so we'll assume that just based on what is there on the website. And they have some feedback, and some of them clearly mention the histopathology interview, saying that it made people feel much more prepared for the interview. The feedback says that it was a well-structured course that covered the approach to tackling the histopathology interview. So we've got some very specific feedback there about the interview. There's 2 quotes on the website. I can't see anything else publicly available online. On the Smartly on Google, we have 13 reviews with public feedback. We have people praising the mock exam, finding the examiners very polite, mentioning a panel style interview. We've got a mention of the written feedback here, saying that it was very informative. We've got another review here explaining that the question bank is really comprehensive, systematic, covering all of the topics in a really well structured fashion, and someone that's clearly used a mock interview as well. I can see that consistently people are mentioning how it's good value for money as well. So we've got a lot of good feedback there. For the Sultan Al-Banelli course, there's not much that's publicly available, but he does in his email chain give us some quotes from past attendees and success stories from 2025. people explaining that they had secured a training post and felt that his course was useful. And we've got other people that have shared feedback saying that they felt that they received very valuable tips during his session. I hope you found that overall summary of all of the different resources useful, and I hope it gives you something to reflect on when you're deciding how you want to study, and gives you an overview of what's out there to use during your own interview process. If you want any more information on the general structure of the interview itself, there is a video that we've made on that, which you can watch here. And otherwise, we wish you really the best of luck for your interview process. We know it can be a stressful time, but stay positive, make the right decisions, work in a focused way, and there's no reason why you can't get in.